think I'm saying this right, but Store Gud. So that's, I don't know. Miles loves to do this. As soon as I saw that, I thought
we should skip talking about that part.
But I looked up what Store Gud means. Obviously, that sounds Swedish, huh?
Oh, great God.
Yeah, oh, great God. Yeah. Yes, you looked it up?
No, it just makes sense.
Really? Ladies and gentlemen, dogs and fleas, pull up a chair and sit on your knees, for we have a story to tell you that we are still learning about. Welcome to Talk the Walk. My name is Henry Moses.
My name is Jenny.
I am Jared.
And I'm Gabriel Moses. We are super happy to be here, and we thank you all for joining us wherever in the world you might be.
And you do not know how hard it was for us to get to this point.
Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. Well, this is us clapping for you. Oh, so much for not using the clap button.
Yeah.
Straight out the chute.
That makes me crazy.
Because we're clapping for our people.
You've made it to Monday.
We are clapping for you. The weekend is over, and you are going to go forth. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
They gave me an appetite for corn.
Represent the Lord in all you do.
Step out.
And we hope you're hearing us this Monday morning. How's your day?
Awesome.
Gabe?
I'm rolling.
Jenny?
It's a good day.
It's a good day. Mm-hmm. I know your day started out with a headache, and now that's gone. Mm-hmm. It's a great day. It's a great day. I'm going to tell y'all something.
Did you leave the headache at the office?
I did.
Yeah, right.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah.
Like all 10 or 20.
Look, the podcast room is where headaches go to die.
That's right.
This is not. We leave all that behind.
At the door.
We come in here and we jump in. Let me tell you. So I was a headache to somebody on Sunday, speaking of headaches.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
So, yeah, it's really
was
embarrassing.
Was this
and I have
your cross in your shirt moment again?
Yeah, she couldn't have seen it, but, I have a bumper sticker on the back of my truck, so that would be my truck's cross necklace, I guess. And it says, it's funny, my bumper sticker says prayer changes things. And so I always think if I do something stupid on the road, I wonder if people are thinking, well, maybe you need to pray over your driving, or clearly it's not helping your driving, something like that. That's what I would think if somebody did it and had that bumper sticker on the back of their truck. So, yeah, so here's what happened. Here's what happened in the words of Monk, Mr. Monk. So I'm driving to church, and look, so I normally at work, I'm real early, but for some reason at church, and I've been going to church at Paramount Baptist for some months now, and we have Sunday school at 9:00 in the morning, and then we have main service at 10:15, and it's wonderful. But for whatever darn reason, it doesn't matter if I get up 2 hours early, which I usually do. I somehow manage, and I'm constantly walking around getting ready. I keep managing to be about 5 minutes late to church. So I don't know what's happening. I don't know why that's happening, but I don't like it. And then, you're playing musical chairs and you're trying to find that empty seat, and then you don't really get to pick your comfortable spot. So I made up my mind this last Sunday, I'm going to be early, and plus do a little fellowship and all that good stuff. So, I set my alarm, but I accidentally set it for PM instead of AM. So I wake up and it's that old, it's too bright. It's brighter than it should be. And something ain't right. So I look at my watch, it says 7:25, and I come flying out of bed, and, I'm in panic mode, but I still feel like, okay, it's an hour and a half, should be okay. So whatever happens.
Just don't spend as much time fixing your hair.
Yes, I know, which, I put a lot of time into my hair. Yeah. I mean, a shaver, 2-3 minutes. If I could get it down to a minute or two, but no, something happened. I took too long shaving my head. I don't know, but I'm walking out the door, running behind. So I'm hustling. I'm driving down the road, and so I go to turn onto the main road that leads to the church, probably about 5-6 miles down the road. And there's white trucks coming. And I think, I don't want to aggravate them. I'm going to let them go in front of me rather than trying to rush out and pull out in front of them and get to right. Well, yes, I let it go in front of me, but it's one lane. And so I can't, now I'm stuck behind it. I can't speed around it. I don't, so I wait till it turns into 2 lanes. And you know how when you're driving and you're in a rush and there's two cars and they're in the two separate lanes and they're getting closer and closer and you're realizing, man, I'm going to end up getting stuck. They're going to clog both lanes.
Yep.
And I've really got somewhere to be.
And they're going to match each other's.
Yes, they're going to kind of match each other. So, but one's going slightly faster, so that gap's closing. So I decide I'm going to punch it, and I'm going to have to cut this truck off. And then I'm going to speed, and that. So that's what I do. But I mean, it's definitely a cutoff. I mean, it's pretty darn close on the. But I knew what I was doing. I wasn't going to hit him, but she didn't know that. It's a lady driving the truck. And so,
let me guess, she didn't like it.
No, she didn't like it. So what do you do? What are you hoping when you cut somebody off? What's the hope? And you're going faster, you're speeding, all this stuff.
You just get past them. You get through a light, they get stuck.
That's exactly what you're hoping. That they get stuck at the light and you make it through it. So, because one, it justifies what you did. You're not looking like, oh. Because anytime someone does that to me, I'm like, and then I see him and I'm like, at the same light, I'm like, whoa, did it help you? No, it didn't help you, did it? And so that's the hope. If you do it, you better hope you make that light. I didn't make the light.
Oh, so let me tell you.
And plus,
let me tell you, dude, I would have made the light.
I know that's what I should have done. I don't know what I was thinking.
Made the light.
I don't know what I was thinking. That's what I should have done.
No.
So I'm at the light and she's right behind me. And so then if you're sitting at the same light, you're trying to like kind of act like casual,
like nothing happened,
like nothing happened. And so we keep going down Western, all the way down Western. She keeps managing, and I'm speeding. And we keep ending up stuck at the same stinking lights. The lights are just jacking me up.
I hope she's going to the same place you are.
So we're going down Western.
That's what I've been hoping.
She keeps ending up, and we go past I-40, and we're getting closer to church, and I'm thinking, this can't be. This can't be. So I turn left to go into the church, pull into the church, the street that leads into the church, and so does she. Oof. And I'm like, oh, well, I always park in the parking lot across the street from the church. And she went to a different one. So I'm thinking, well, at least that. I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is somebody I go to church with. So I don't think anything of it. I get out of the truck and I'm walking in. I walk across the street into the church parking lot. And here's this, older lady walking. And I look at her. I'm like, hey, good morning. And she says something grumpy to me.
Like,
And I'm like, I said, what was that? And then out of my peripheral, I can see kind of behind her a white truck.
Oh, my God.
And I realized it's the same lady. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I said, what's that? She goes, you about took my front bumper off. I guess she recognized my bald head, I guess. And I said, you know what? You're right. I sure did. And I am so sorry. And she said, sorry doesn't always cut it. And
you should have said, amen, sister.
She was not a happy person.
Goodness.
And I said, yeah, no, I get that. I said, let me explain to you what happened. And so I tell her the story I just told y'all outside of the driving part, because she experienced it all, the whole driving part. And I said, I just made up my mind I was going to get here early today, this and that. And then here I am. And she goes, well, this sure didn't help you much.
Golly.
So she's not feeling it.
No.
I'd be like, it's a good thing you're going to church this morning.
Well, it's funny because I ended up eating next to the pastor at lunch, and I was telling him about it, and he was starting to get annoyed hearing the responses. I was like, no, it turned out all right. Don't worry. And I said, and when I was telling him, I said, matter of fact, she's here in your house right now. He goes, in my house? I'm like, yeah, right now. And but anyway, so we're walking along, and I'm like, I get it. And I've messed up her Sunday morning. I'm not going to be upset at her for being upset at me. So I said, you know what? I was thinking that. She said, it didn't help you much. I said, I was thinking that. I said, I'm seeing you in my rear view every stupid stoplight, And she's still just giving me the stink eye. So I stuck out my hand and said, I'm Henry Moses. I apologize. And at that moment, she kind of softened a little bit and shook my hand and said, I'm not going to say her name, but says her name. And she goes, it's just the devil trying to ruin our Sunday morning. I was like, that is what it is. So then we're walking in, And it's new member. So my church does an awesome thing when you're a new member. Every quarter, Pastor Jeremy, senior pastor, has all the new members over to his house and fixes them lunch, and everybody fellowships and gets to know each other. And so this is that Sunday. So I'm walking into the church, and Pastor Dave is standing there. And so Pastor Dave says, I had let her walk in front of me and held the door for her. Oh, and so Pastor Dave looks at right. Yeah, trying to get some brownie points back. And Pastor Dave looks at her and says, "Hey, did you get the address for after church?" I'm like, "No." She's a new member too. Like, are you kidding me?
You're going to spend the day together.
Yes, we're going to and then he looks at me and goes, "Oh, you too. Did you get the address?" And I'm just sweating. I'm like, "Oh, come on, man."
Good job.
Like, you talk about the Lord trying to teach.
Good job, God.
We're going down the stairs, and she's walking slow. And again, I'm trying to, but I had held the door open for her, so she's in front of me, and it's a wide staircase.
This is the dumbest story ever. And I'm like, her twice. Is that what you're saying?
No, I didn't get stuck behind her the first time, but she kept ending up with me.
No, you were stuck at first until you cut her off.
At first, right.
You were stuck.
Yeah,
and now you're stuck again.
But it's a wide staircase. But I'm not going around or on the staircase.
I thought you were going to say you. So I'm having to down the stairs. Bam.
I know.
I'm having to walk slow behind her. I'm like, it is what it is at this point. So, and
you should have just said, "Ma'am, can you step on the gas?"
Yeah, we already had this. Be like, we already had this.
I thought
discussion.
We've been down.
You know what?
We've been down this road, haven't we?
You know what happens when you're going slow in front of me? Like,
ma'am, I've been motivated. I've been motivated to be nicer and more graceful, but you obviously have not been motivated to pick it up a notch.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't believe it.
I mean, if that doesn't, and man, I work hard. I really try to be better and try to know the Lord better and try to be like Him more. Just not on the road. On the road, man, I struggle.
Yeah,
sometimes.
You've always had a hard time.
You need
on the road.
to take that bumper sticker.
It just reveals we never quit needing the mercy and the grace of the Lord and His teachings.
I don't have a bumper sticker on my truck, and I'm ashamed to say because I know I might mess it up. I don't want to.
Well, the main reason I put the bumper sticker on was because it
helped you not. I know, but it did not help you with her.
It doesn't help me. It
didn't help you anytime, really.
No, it does.
Does it?
Oh, yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does.
Does it?
Yep. I don't always tuck my bumper sticker in. I mean, I'm just telling you, in a moment like that, if you don't believe in the providence of God.
Oh, yeah.
And that He's trying to teach us lessons.
He wants you to learn.
I guess if you just want to believe that's all coincidence, okay, man, I'm praying.
That's always been my biggest fear is that I be driving along and that they're really, really, truly going to the same place I'm going.
Yeah.
I would have been shameless
and going to the same place
somewhere else. I would have been like, I have no shame. I'm going somewhere else.
I would have just been like, no, I'm not going to church today.
Yeah, same here. We're going to try this again next week.
Yep.
Yeah.
Church comes or
ran the red light like Gabe said, just burn through that red light.
There's really a lot of different ways you could have been rebellious in that situation.
I think God just wanted me to learn a lesson. And let me tell you, my driving's been a lot better this week.
I love it. She said, you nearly took my bumper off.
You nearly took my front bumper off.
I'm like, oh.
Which you confessed, yes,
yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was me.
You can't be mad at somebody because you did something to them that,
You should have just said,
and it's in the church parking lot. I was just like, I'm not. Yeah. Nearly being the key word, ma'am.
You should have looked there and said, So you live in Rolling Hills, huh?
We're neighbors. Yeah, so she lives somewhere close to
She might be close to us right now.
Yeah.
And y'all both had the idea to go to church, the same church, around the same time, apparently, and joined around the same time.
And she was not concerned with being late.
No.
Apparently not.
Nope. No. She was just doing she definitely, the way she was walking down those stairs, she wasn't worried about.
Do you remember I told y'all this story. I don't know if you've all heard it, but I did something. Somebody came up on my rear end one time. This was back when I was driving my Bigfoot truck about 20 years ago. Come flying up on me. And I was like, oh, you're one of these psycho drivers that thinks you have the right to shove other drivers around. So I just like use my truck to block them. This guy finally barrels around me over on the shoulder and like launches past me. I was like, oh, aren't we special, man? Aren't you special? You're just the best on the street. So I'm watching, and sure enough, he gets, 30 feet in front of me as he goes past, and I see that the emergency lights are on. I was like, oh, so maybe he had an emergency or something. Well, he just happened to be going the same direction for a minute, like your story. I see him pull into the hospital.
Oh, dude.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, no. And then I thought about it when they were behind me. I remember looking. There was a man and a woman.
They're trying to get to labor.
I know.
They're having a baby.
Oh, I'm telling you. My heart just sank. I was like, ooh,
isn't it amazing?
So stupid. I hate being me.
I find it interesting how we just assume what people are thinking,
Yes.
their intent.
Yes.
Me-
You're just being a jerk.
Angel and I just had that conversation today. We're going to a birthday party tomorrow, and they ordered shirts and all this stuff, and she's been communicating with the graphic guy, and she just, the way she reads his text messages, like he just don't care, and he's not attentive, and he's not doing it, and she's been miffed with the whole process. And then he left her a voicemail today to let her know the shirt was ready. And she goes, man, he is so nice.
I knew it.
Of course he is. How did you get from a text message that he wasn't nice?
Yes. That's how I have a friend with massive road rage. She says it's better than it used to be. I'm like, what did it used to be? And
Is
she,
it April?
I'm not saying any names.
April.
So anyway, she'll make gestures and stuff like that, scream at people. And I mean, it's so,
I can see this
oh my gosh.
in my mind.
And I'm like, I don't like, why are you mad? It's not like they're trying to do whatever it is.
You take it that they are.
That's what she said. She said they should be driving better. They should be watching where they're going. They should. And I said, but are you saying you? And April and I just talk like this all the time. We just challenge each other at every turn.
Oh yeah.
I said, are you?
That's a good friend.
Like, are you saying that you don't ever make driving mistakes? And she's like, yes, but when I do, it's an accident.
Man.
I remember
That's the way I feel.
I don't.
It's an accident.
I don't remember the exact day, but I remember the moment road rage left my being. And I was going down. The moment I was driving down I-40. I'm in the center lane between Paramount and Western, and David's a newborn. He's in the back of my car, and this guy cuts me off.
Yep.
And I got so mad. I was like, do you even realize that I've got a baby in the back seat? And in that moment, I felt the Lord say, how many times have you considered somebody else had a baby in their back seat when you acted the same way?
Yeah.
That was the moment I quit. I was like, I've never even considered the other person, who they have in their car,
what they have going on.
What they have going on. And I just chilled out.
Yeah.
It's miraculous. I still have my moments here and there, but for the most part, I can follow somebody going too slow, and I'm irritated, but I'm not going to take their bumper off on the way to church. I can tell you that.
To be clear, I wasn't irritated. I was just trying to get to church. I was like, I got to get around you.
Well, that's better,
So I
because
wasn't
you used to
mad.
get irritated.
Yeah,
So you weren't mad.
I don't really get mad too
He's
much.
had the
anymore.
road rage. Like,
Oh, yeah.
me
Yes,
and
I have.
April were very
I've
alike
almost,
in that.
yeah.
I've been in both spots where I did do something intentionally, quickly, on purpose, trying to get somewhere fast, and I was rude. I totally cut them bad off. And I mean, within those inches. And then I've had other moments where I was like, accident, that was an accident.
Yes.
And when I did something rude to somebody, but it was a total accident, I did not see them, and I just basically ran them off the road. And it was the combination of both those concepts that made me go, hey, man, you never know why somebody does what they do.
Yeah.
It could
Most of the time
it could
it's
be
an
rude,
accident.
or it could be an accident. How do you know
I think
what
most
they're
of the
doing?
time it is.
I don't know. I'll tell you this. It really speaks to our insignificance and how not great we are as a people, and just how truly great God is to have anything to do with us.
Smooth.
It's very true.
Smooth.
Is that not true?
It's very true.
brother.
Very true. Very
It's
true.
That is the truth, man. I've got a psalm to go with that. And on that note, let's dive into the topic. What do we say?
Is it that time? Let's
So we're gonna be doing a little series, and I'm not sure for how long we're gonna do this, but Dr. Pebble had the idea of what was Miles's idea, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
To do some hymns, to kind of take a hymn, break it down, talk about it, and the origin of it.
I love it.
And kind of dive into some. So we're gonna do some for a while, probably about once a month.
Yeah.
Do a series on hymns.
Go.
And so the first one we're going to be doing is How Great Thou Art. But, I was thinking about hymns and why. And, one of the things I personally look for in a church, and I know not everybody does, but for me, I love if a church still has church pews and hymnal books. Then, or at least sings hymns in their service.
Where it's at.
It says a little something about the church. It speaks to me. And so I was thinking about that today.
First Baptist.
Yep.
Yeah.
My church, Paramount Baptist.
Paramount
does it.
Baptist.
Jenny's church, Hadley Methodist, they do it. But I thought, well, why?
Trinity Fellowship.
What I love about hymns is that they really kind of speak to our insignificance and to the glory of God, the true significance and majesty of God.
Very true.
They're kind of a lot mainly based that way.
They're themed
right?
that way. Just almost all of them.
And so that is before we dive into that one, that I really love that the first one that Miles picked out. Did he pick this out? I think he did.
He did it all. 100%.
Yeah. And so is How Great Thou Art. Now, my understanding is that Carl Boberg wrote it, and Jared's understanding is that Carrie Underwood and Jenny's made it what it is
today.
So,
Yes.
I know. That's I thought.
It's not that it had
Made it what it
But
is.
no, but I would say
Carrie Schmerry.
as far as
What in
the
the world?
famous.
Find me a-
You have to be careful with those words.
I do. I'm
Yeah.
not talking about my wife.
Okay.
find me a better rendition delivery of How Great Thou Art than Carrie Underwood.
That's not the point at all.
That is the point.
That's not the point. She didn't make it what it is. That doesn't
Well,
make her
no,
made
she
it.
made it.
Is that what I'm
She
understanding?
made it to the level
Right.
How great thou art.
knowing that it is.
Yeah.
Like the level of fame that it has now. Once she did the rendition, she did it in
I
such
haven't
a way
even heard
that
it.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
So what I would say to
Maybe
go
that's why
along
we
with
don't
you,
know.
Maybe.
y'all are 2 people in 8 billion. So
You're only 2 people.
you
in
have
8
never,
billion.
well, that 50% of us have heard it and know exactly what we're talking about.
so what I would say,
They're special 2 people, Henry, and you and I are not.
so let me put a little
The
context.
other one's
Paul.
not defensive.
Let me
Okay,
put
Jared.
Mr.
let me
Paul.
put a little context to it.
Okay.
Hymns, church pews are not growing and
Yes.
getting more prevalent. They're dying and going away.
Don't try to get practical.
Carrie Underwood, when she performed that on
Yeah.
a national stage, everybody knows How Great Thou Art.
Did she do it on American Idol?
She did it at
No.
a
It was
she did
after
it at the
she
Grand
was
Ole
famous.
Opry somewhere, but it
wow.
was
Yes.
That'd be awesome.
it will make the hair on your arm stand up.
I'm definitely going to look.
She brought How Great Thou Art to relevancy to a generation
Yeah.
that doesn't even know
That's
what a
it.
hymn book is.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the point.
And the power that she did it with, because she has faith. I'm not saying look to her for how, the greatest Christian in the world, but she has faith and she loves Jesus. And she sang that song with such power that How Great Thou Art, like came through in her voice.
I've listened to it many times and will catch myself putting my hands in the air, worshiping to her singing that song. It is amazing.
She did it so worshipful.
Yes.
She was singing in truth.
And I think she worshiped
She's
in
got
that
a beautiful
performance.
heart. I love
Yeah.
her to death. I'm like,
Anyway, but not to take away from what Carl Boberg did in 1855 or
You know
whatever.
what-
1885, yeah.
you know why you can't take away from it? Because Carrie never had the opportunity without Carl.
Correct.
So that,
It's
Yeah.
not a
never even
competition. It's just a fact.
I want you to recognize it's not a competition. You guys can state fact, but if I do, it's defensive. Let's keep it real. I'm just saying, they're both awesome, and they're both playing a role in this thing.
So let's not talk about us and talk about how great God is.
Yeah. So it was written.
Wise idea.
It was written by Carl Boberg in 1885. Began its journey in Swedish. Titled. Now I'm think I'm saying this right, but Store Gud. So that's, I don't know. Miles
As
loves
soon
to
as
do
I
this
saw
stuff
that, I
to
thought
us.
we should skip talking about that part.
But I looked up what Store Gud means.
Try to
Obviously,
say it.
that's
Try to
and
say
that
it.
sounds Swedish, huh?
Oh, great God. Is it?
Yeah. Oh, great God.
Yeah.
Yes, you looked it up.
No, it just makes sense.
Really?
Well, good has got to be God.
Store?
And great.
I don't know how.
Great has to be in there. It has to go with how great thou art somehow.
Yeah.
So it's the
Yeah.
only thing I
All
could
right.
come up
This
with.
is just context.
Well, I actually looked it
That's
up.
right.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are right.
Say it like they would say it.
Go ahead.
Try it.
Store Gud. Store Gud.
That's better. That's better.
How about that? Yeah.
I was like, he will try.
I will try.
He will.
Anybody else want to give it a run?
No, that was
before we-
perfect. I don't think we could top the last
I
one.
actually saw Store Good. Good.
Good.
Good.
Jared's just saying country style.
Yeah, good.
Texan style.
I say it as it is. So, but oh, great God. I love that. Oh, great God. And in a little bit, we'll get to kind of, how he came up with it. And then you can see the title. But despite its origins in a small Swedish community, the hymn's powerful message and stirring melody resonated deeply with people worldwide. Its international popularity surged after being translated into English, allowing it to reach a broader audience. The English version, capturing the essence of Boberg's original work, helps cement How Great Thou Art as a beloved hymn across different cultures and denominations, celebrated for its profound expression of awe and reverence towards the Creator.
I feel like anyone listening to reading, because, I do this, didn't hear all of what you just said.
Well, that's the nice thing about being able to back it up, if you will.
But I mean,
Sure.
just so that we could
10 seconds
elaborate
back.
a little bit and summarize it, paraphrase it to people who may. This is what I do. I hear someone doing something like that, I rewind it, and then I blank out again. Second, third. It takes me like 4 times to finally pay attention.
I do that when I
Henry,
listen to
read
an
it 3
audio
times in a
book.
row.
Well, no. How about we just paraphrase
Unpack that.
Unpack that. There we go.
That's why I was going to read through it, and then we
The
can
whole
talk about
thing?
it a little bit.
You're going to read through this whole
Oh,
thing?
The segment 1. That's why it says segment
Okay.
1, which I just finished, and then you finished it with that.
Okay.
If you would have let me finish.
Well, maybe that's why we should plan a little more so we can discuss what each other's doing.
There we go. So basically, what I get, to kind of wrap that, or unpack that all, I find it interesting how you can see the Lord. We were talking a second about being able to see the Lord's hand at work. The way He chooses different songs. A guy writes it, he's probably not running around the world publishing it all over the place in 1885, and yet it ends up spreading, being translated to English.
Yes.
And you can just see the Lord at work. And I read a psalm. I looked up. There's a psalm that everybody's going to recognize when I read it, and y'all may have also looked it up. I'd be shocked if one person didn't at least. But that kind of goes along with the lyrics which we'll get to in a little bit. But how God can take, speaking to His greatness, just a small song written in Sweden in 1885, and then here, it spreads around the world.
Yes.
And Carrie Underwood is then doing her rendition of it, 100 and whatever years later.
Which is the only one that matters.
Thank you.
It speaks to His majesty. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the fact that's what I was thinking about when you're reading it. It originated in Sweden. Like,
Right.
there's no social media, there's no email, there's nothing like
Right.
that. Like, it's easily understood that things can travel like wildfire now.
Mm-hmm.
But for a song written in the 1800s to make its way, I was born in the 1970s. I'll just leave it at that. But even going to church at a young age, we were singing this song, and I'm thinking, man, where it originated in a different language, it's just amazing how it spread like that.
And for this guy to be, we'll talk about this here in a minute, but it's one man who looked out and saw a storm, and that storm invoked this song in his heart in Sweden and made it into words with a tune. It does go to how great God is. Even just that, much less his words.
I wonder, did he write it to be a song? Because he could just be a creative that was a poem writer or something.
Yeah.
And obviously Miles does this research and he wrote the hymn, but did he write it with the intention of becoming a hymn, or did someone else take it and run with it? I'm just curious. We don't have to look that up, but
I think Miles put in there that he penned the hymn based on this experience.
Okay. So not only was he just a creative interpreter of things, he was able to musically make it what it was.
Translate it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, and I wish I would have looked up maybe somebody else, but anything about Carl Boberg. Or I'm sorry, not Boberg. Boberg.
Jenny and her politics.
I exposed myself.
No politics on here.
Carl Boberg. I mean, I wonder what kind of person he was.
Well, I think, I don't know what I was saying.
We were talking about who maybe Carl Boberg was.
Yeah. So we do little half section breaks, and then every now and then we jump back in, and I completely
forget where we left off.
That's why you don't talk about anything in between a break.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what made him? I'll help you with this.
Yes, thank you.
What caused him to want to write this hymn, Hank?
Well, thinking about, so he was sitting there and he was observing a storm that was jumping up, a thunderstorm that led him to reflect on the greatness of God. And I think of that, and I mean, we're so busy. We're so busy nowadays that we're not really able to. How often are we sitting on our porch just sitting there thinking, oh, we've got things to distract us. We've got that. But is it not, in the stillness that we find the Lord so many times? And this guy sitting out sees this thunderstorm. It leads him to reflect on the greatness of God. He has a profound encounter. Just the nature's power inspired him to start penning this hymn as he experienced the awe of it and that. And I living in the country, so I lived in the city a lot of the times. But man, on the times that I do, if we go outside to, Gabe, you've quit smoking now, but we would go outside at night sometimes when you come over, hang out, and we'd hang out on the porch and see just the Milky Way, see all the stars and the constellations and the moon, and the moon would be huge and Star Wars moon at times, or little and whatever, half pie up in the sky. But just to look at it and realize our insignificance and just how great God is, when you stare into the heavens, I mean, it just, and so that's where.
When I'm picturing, Carl in the 1800s, and I did just looked it up, and Jared, you're right, he was a poet and he was a pastor. And I tend to be, in my heart, a little harder on pastors in my later age than I was in my younger age, and that's a result of putting pastors on pedestals and them falling off because they're human. And then it tends to make me feel it's happened to so many of them now over and over. And so I'm pretty hard on them in my mind and in my heart. And honestly, just now, just sitting here, just looking and picturing this Carl guy, I guarantee you he was human as well. And who knows what flaws he had, if they were as, bad as some of the ones we see in our American church today of those pastors. He had whatever. He had whatever humans' errors or, possess now. They were there back then as well. But picturing him being so inspired, looking out into a night sky or a dark, stormy sky, and just looking up there and seeing the greatness of God. And that was during the 1800s, so somewhere around the Great Revival. And so he was so impressed and moved by what he saw in the storm that he goes in and writes one of the greatest hymns, arguably the greatest hymn to ever be written,
Yeah.
It's neat to think of a pastor doing that,
I have so many thoughts and directions, and I'm ready for us to unpack it. Really, whenever we're ready to do that.
Say what you got to say.
Well,
jump to it.
I last night, because I knew we were going to record this episode, and I was sitting on my patio and was trying to watch dirt track racing, but I knew I should be prepping for this, and I finally turned it off. And this might be the most I've ever prepared for a podcast, and it turned into just this wonderful time with the Lord last night. And what was amazing is I'm reading the lyrics, and then my phone goes off, and there's a severe thunderstorm warning.
Wow.
And it starts thundering outside, and the wind starts blowing. And I was just like, oh, my gosh, thank you, God, for this. And I couldn't help. Something kept drawing me to Miles's book. And I was like, I wonder, Miles has to have something in his book about something like this. And for those of you who don't know, he wrote Miles is a phenomenal photographer, interprets what the Lord's doing. So I go and get his book, and he does just a great job of articulating his thoughts with what he sees, how the Godhead folds into that. And one is titled The Path of Virtue, and there's these massive thunderheads that are appearing over this desolate ground. And then the other one is titled The Dichotomy of Control, which is a close-up view of a real powerful storm cloud. But what he shared in The Dichotomy of Control was he wrote, a profound realization dawned upon me. Despite my desires, I am as incapable of altering the whimsical cloud formations drifting by as I am of controlling the behaviors and choices of those around me. In the same way that I cannot dictate the sky's response or actions, I should not expect others to conform to my will. My true control in both scenarios rests solely on how I react to the unfolding nature surrounding me. And as I just reflected on verse 1, where it says, O Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all thy worlds thy hands have made, I see the stars, I hear the rolling thunder, thy power throughout the universe displayed. The fact that Carl Boberg found it appropriate to keep his eyes fixed on God and his majestic power rather than fear, and just pen such a wonderful hymn, because I'm running indoors. I'm getting in a shelter. I'm doing something.
Right.
And he's taking it in. And I've never been trapped or faced with a literal thunderstorm like possibly he was. But from a marriage standpoint, I've had many storms in my life. And I guess I just realized that how powerful God is and how powerless I am. And when I started reflecting on how great thou art, it's just like there's nothing I could have done to get through those storms of my life without God and how great he is. And yeah, that song just began to move me last night as I was reading through the first verse and those things like that.
I love that. There was a few years ago, I can't remember what year it was, but there were these thunderstorms that rocked the whole state of Texas. And it was like something out of Armageddon. I can't remember what year it was, but one day, and they were just endless. They went on day after day after day for a couple months at a time. And we were standing outside, and my brother-in-law told this story about a family's house getting taken off the foundation while the family was inside of it. And the dad and the wife and the children were on the roof, and all got swept away but the dad. And there was something about that story that put this fear inside of me for thunderstorms. And for years after that, if I heard a thunderstorm, that fear that you're talking about would just fight through me. I had no idea how to get rid of it. I would pray through it. I just was so afraid of thunderstorms. I'd never been ever afraid of thunderstorms in my life. And one day this exact thing that we're talking about that happened with you last night, that happened with Carl Boberg, I felt the Lord saying, come outside with me during a big, huge thunderstorm that was going on. And I walked outside and I saw it. I saw lightning in every cloud. There was the wind. There was the rain. I was on a porch. I wasn't even able to stay dry through this thing. And I just could see him. All of a sudden, I could see him through the storms and the clouds. And it is a good reminder that though your circumstances feel like this big storm everywhere, don't keep your eyes on the circumstance. Keep your eyes on the power of God and what he's doing. Those circumstances that, like Jesus said, we're not promised an easy life or rose gardens. We're not promised that. But even in the storm, and sometimes those clouds, those lightning bolts, all of that is his creation.
So last night you stood out in that storm?
It wasn't last night.
Okay.
It was years ago.
Okay.
Right.
I was like, that's the storm. I was like, man, that's so applicable.
All happening at the same time.
Yes. No,
So,
it wasn't last night. It was a
Not to put you on the spot, Gabe, but you have this amazing power or ability to articulate, because there's no doubt your love and your awe of God's power and work in your life, because we've all been through stuff. So I'm over here just anxious as we're unpacking this first verse, because you seem to interpret things kind of like Miles sees photography. When you think about the hymn, "How Great Thou Art," how does that impact you?
I was sitting here just thinking, as y'all were talking, I was thinking of a story I heard, and see if you get it. There's some guys on a boat, right?
Yeah.
And there's a storm. Got it yet?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So the guys on the boat are there, and they're freaking out. There's a storm, and they see a guy on the water.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm just seeing Peter. Listening to all this, my life has felt like a storm, which is probably dramatic to somebody, but to me, it's not. And it has felt like a storm, but it's crazy. God's told me so many times. Remember when you thought I wasn't there?
Yeah.
You thought I wasn't there. I was there. And then you realize later that I was there all along, and I'm with you now, he's told me. And the stuff is so funny. I mean, I've heard other stories that are way, way harder than my story. And I bet everybody has, but to me, my story was extremely difficult.
But a storm is a storm. You know, your storm is your storm, and it's a storm.
Yeah. And it just seemed like it just never ended up until a few years ago. And it just went on and on and on.
You feel powerless. You feel outnumbered. You feel outmatched, just like that storm would have done. But you were able to keep your eyes on God.
I even broke my oath to God once along the way. You know, I made an oath to him, and then I broke it because I didn't feel like he was protecting me from the storm. And I look at Peter, and it makes me feel comfortable. Well, he didn't either. Yeah. He looked away. So did I. But Jesus still stands right there. I love it. He is great. He's greater than I've ever been able to comprehend, and I've thought about him all my life. I think about him, as all of us have. You've been saved all your life, right?
Not all my life,
or pretty much. A long time.
I'm old enough to say that I've been saved the majority of my life.
I mean, that's a long time, you know. And still,
thanks. Say I'm old. That's a long time.
I believe you are older than me.
I am. I love the whole analogy of Peter. Like, you're right. I mean, we get so focused on the storm, and it's like, Jesus, like, what y'all scared of?
Yeah, what you worried about? Mm-hmm. I'll tell you when you go.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I think the Psalms, I mean, to me, and probably with hymns, Psalms are going to come up quite a bit, I would imagine. But the Psalms, I think, really speak to this one. There's a couple of them. Psalm 19:1, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. So I really think that kind of speaks to this. But I think, yes, you're right. I mean, we can get so distracted by the storm or the chaos. Or, I mean, don't we kind of live and walk in a storm, even when things are quote unquote peaceful right now?
Yeah.
It's kind of stormy, right? And it's just so easy to forget how big God is, how great God is, and it's easy to forget how really little we are because we just start counting on ourselves, and you know it's so important. I'm sitting here wrestling with something in my mind while trying to walk through this podcast, and I'm thinking, you know, you're wrong in that thinking, you're wrong in that thinking. And so it's nice that we're talking about this because I can just think about how great God is. It helps to remember to put things into perspective. And all we have to do, if we'll just pause, walk outside, and look up to the skies, look at the trees, but we just grow numb to it all at times, almost taking for granted how great God is. We take for granted how great God is. Well, yeah, He'll forgive me for my sins. He'll forgive me if I don't choose to grow. He'll forgive me if I just choose to blend in to the world rather than be salt and be light. We kind of start to take His greatness for granted. I've been convicted, and I was thinking we would do a podcast on this at some point, but just in challenging myself to continue to grow spiritually rather than being complacent in my walk. Again, taking God for granted. Well, I'm saved. I've got my fire insurance. I've grown to this point, but also there's such a security in embracing our insignificance and in embracing God's majesty and His greatness, His awesomeness. If we could just take the time to kind of eliminate the chaos and step outside. I've talked about it on here before, but I know C.S. Lewis was big on taking long walks, and I believe so was Tolkien. But they would take long walks to ponder God and to be just surrounded by nature, and to see the majesty of God through His handiworks, through the heavens, right? And then in Psalm 8, verse 3, says, "When I look at your heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars, which you have set in place, what is man that you're mindful of him, and the son of man that you would care for him?" And that is, we're just not big. Yeah, we're not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right.
It doesn't matter how much you go to the gym. It doesn't matter how much you rise in power in business.
Yes,
it doesn't matter how big of a patriarch or matriarch you are and how big your family. None of that gets you anywhere close. It doesn't matter if you're the most perfect person in the world, because somebody is. Mm-hmm. It's not me.
You know what's funny about all this is, to the four of us sitting here and probably most people listening to this, it's going to seem so obvious that Jesus is your Lord and Savior and that He is all powerful and all great and all good, right? Mm-hmm. That it's so obvious. I often think that the whole world understands that. And then I was talking to a realtor yesterday, and she was telling me a story about this big man that she knows, who's bigger than most men she's ever met. And he's dying. And she's like, "Are you ready now? Can we talk about Jesus?" And he goes, I don't believe in that. Keep that crap away from me. I don't want to talk about stuff that doesn't exist. Get that away from me. And I'm like, talking about God. But that guy's like, get out of my face with that. It's so obvious to us. It's so clear. And we're in adoration of His greatness. But other people are like, He doesn't exist, and I'm the biggest man out there, and I don't need that junk. It's just crazy. It just blew my mind when I heard it. It was weird. It just blew my mind.
Yeah, because He's dying, and you would think that
usually people will see something.
They'll see, and it's still not too late for Him.
No, it's not.
But yeah, and to me, it's evident, just like the Scripture says, it's obvious in the things that have been made, that His glory and His existence are made obvious in the things that have been made. And if it's why I love science so much. After I learned science, and you can see a whole world of operations inside of a cell. And then we're, of course, huge compared to a cell. But then if you zoom out into the galaxies, then we become smaller than a cell. Yeah. And you see all of the Milky Way and the stars and the shapes, and the fact that this is expanding, the universe is expanding outward forever. It just doesn't even stop growing, making us really kind of smaller by the second.
Yeah.
And still, He has set His love upon us, and He made us in His image. And if you think about the cell and really the gloriousness of the cell in that world and the gloriousness and the bigness of the galaxy, that brings me to how great thou art. Just even when I'm in doubt and in fear, I do think of the cell and I think of the galaxy and the works of his hands, just like this author of this song did. And it does bring me all of the greatness of the works of his hands, brings me back to a worshipfulness of him and a strength, and it chases that fear away because he set his love on us.
Right.
You know, with all of that's going on, he did that.
Can I share on verse 2 for a second?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if anybody had any more on verse 1, I don't want to cut anybody off.
No, absolutely.
So verse 1, and when I think that God, his son not sparing, sent him to die, I scarce can take it in, that on that cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. You know, in those moments I mentioned earlier in my marriage, through parenting and all that, I definitely was not without sin. And as I was reflecting on that, my storms and this song, my anger, my frustration, my actions, just the sin I was operating in, and then to think the burden of my sin, Jesus gladly bearing, bled and died to take away that sin, and the healing that I've been able to experience because of his brutal death just is overwhelming when I reflect on my storm in verse 2, like that he gladly bear my sin. And just the bloody death he died and was glad to do that for me. Just overwhelming.
And for others.
And for others, yeah.
And 2 Corinthians 5, going along with that, it says, therefore, knowing the fear of the Lord, we persuade others. And I think it's crazy that it's hard. It's kind of hard to witness to people. You know, I mean, it just feels like we're in a climate that we're not able to do that. And it's really frowned upon. I mean, Satan, God, man, I mean, he's really attacking the message of the gospel. And so you just, don't talk about it at work. Don't push your religion on me, all that kind of stuff, especially here in America. But if we truly believe in the greatness of God, I just love this, knowing the fear of the Lord, we persuade others. You know, yes, it is the Holy Spirit that leads one's heart to repentance, but we're actually supposed to spend time persuading people. Gabe, I think of the big man that you were talking about. Man, and I'm like, I mean, I hear stories like that, and I think, what would I say next to that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, to get just completely shut down like
persuading
Right.
means they're not generally going to just be like, oh, yeah, heck yeah, awesome. Yeah. I'm in. Count me in. Man, you just said that so well. First time, let's go.
I was talking to a guy at Toot and Totem once, and talking to him about the Lord, talking to him about the Bible, and he was like, oh, yeah, cool, yeah. He goes, I believe in the Viking, Valhalla, and the Viking way, and those books go all the way back to whenever that they went back to. And he's saying all this stuff, and I felt so small for a second there, because I was like, is that right? Did the Viking books go back to whenever, to 20,000 years ago? Obviously not.
Right.
But I was bewildered for a minute, and I bypassed him completely, and I said, listen, brother, you said you were going to be leaving in a month and a half. I was like, do me a favor, man, just read the Bible. I don't know about all that, but just read it. And he goes, I might. And I was like, dude, it doesn't hurt anything. Check it out. See what it says. I pushed on him because I was like, he's going to be gone.
And I might be friends with that guy on Facebook, because a guy yesterday.
No, this was a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Well, I might
be. He was leaving town. He was moving away.
You could be on Facebook friends with somebody on the other side of the world.
Okay.
Right.
The odds of
this guy, and I don't know who he is, because, you friend clients and stuff like that. I can't remember who. I don't know where I know this guy is, but this guy on my Facebook page yesterday was, doing to his mom. I bid thee farewell.
Oh, all
May
that.
the gods grant you. May the gods greet you at the gates, and this and all this kind of. So I went and looked at his page, and sure enough, he has like this kind of Viking style hair and all this stuff.
You never know.
I was like,
you need to
what?
tell him,
I
hey,
know.
my brother told you, read the Bible.
Yeah. I'm going to look him up on Facebook and show him to you.
What are you not understanding here?
Yeah. Yeah. Clearly you didn't get the message. But I thought, man, he's the only person I've ever heard of.
Talking about
bidding the Norse gods and
Yeah.
all that.
Oh, yeah.
Thor and all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness.
I thought
It just catches you off guard when someone
But we're
says,
supposed to persuade. I mean, it just the majesty of God. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
It
you just
does.
kind of stop dead in your tracks. If we're not, I mean, we have to be prepared to share, right? We have to prepare to share. I feel like that's a good little
prepare to share.
prepare to
Put
share.
that on a
Maybe I
bumper
should
sticker.
get that bumper sticker, right?
That's a better one.
Yeah.
And be prepare to be shared with is what we should say. Just get ready.
Yeah.
See me coming.
I like that.
I'm going
I
to
like
share
that.
with you.
Prepare to be shared with. Yeah. If you bring up the fact that I almost took your front bumper off, I'm going to start sharing the Lord with you.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wouldn't that be nice to make it easier to share with people how great God is? That there's something that set them up before we got to them. I suppose, obviously, God does that sometimes because he prepares the heart, but that they were just ready to hear what we had to say about God.
Well, we're supposed to be prepared to defend the gospel of Jesus Christ, you know, so.
But are they supposed to be prepared to hear us share
Right,
it?
no.
It's
just
so
a
nice.
joke.
So nice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah, and that's what it said. You know, it says that we have to plead with them. You know, we have to be prepared to persuade them. But I also think that's kind of encouraging. You know, keep our eyes focused on the greatness of God and the insignificance of ourselves, and be prepared to have to persuade people.
And to know that it's the goodness of God that leads men to repentance.
Yeah.
So it is not like how much persuasive power we have. It's the
Right.
power of God through us. We can walk in that confidence. If we remember that, I
Right.
think we would be able to.
To be more,
Yes.
right. It's not dependent on us.
I mean, I look at these
but
guys.
battle, like, don't just throw out one thing.
Yeah.
Battle for their hearts, their souls, right?
Well,
For
like
the-
that guy,
for their
who's that
eternity.
preacher that you sent me the other day? I listened to most of that podcast, but he's that one. He's always,
Nettle.
Nettle.
Yeah.
My gosh.
Yeah.
He does it
Cliff
with
Nettle,
love
or
and with
Neckel
humbleness.
or something. Oh, so good.
He does it so well. And it is his kindness that makes
Yeah.
people think.
He doesn't get angry. Yeah, he doesn't do any of that.
And he never stops. I mean, he doesn't stop talking
Man.
as long as the person
But
is
then you
willing
hear
to
people
listen.
like that, and you just think,
How do they come up with all
I
that?
can't do that.
No, it doesn't.
you know? I mean, you do
How they
think,
it.
I can't.
I have thought that. How
Oh,
can
my
I? Yeah, I
goodness.
don't know. It doesn't come to my brain that fast. He's got a
No,
gift.
he's gone on with not Jake Paul, but what's the other Paul brother?
Logan.
Logan
There's
Paul.
Logan Paul,
Yes,
yeah.
Logan Paul, and gone on his and just took the gospel to him, and I mean, and they're not Christian, you know, and they couldn't really debate. He just
just
he's been
confidence
preaching
in
his
the
whole
Lord.
life and spends tons of time in the Word and does all
That's
this,
his life. Yes.
and that it's street preaches, but obviously we don't have to do it on that level, but we shouldn't just give up on the first shot, you know. Take a punch to the jaw, and like you were talking about the big man Gabe, and you know, yeah, you're right, yeah, never mind, you know.
Well, sometimes you feel a little outmatched, and it sucker punches you because you go in with such bold confidence. It's almost like going in with a single shotgun. You know, it's like, man, I wished I'd have brought my 17-round magazine because they went in prepared with one shot and thought it was going to stick, and it didn't.
Yeah,
and then it just like, I don't know where to go from here. He shut me down. Like I'm not prepared for him to say, "Get that out of my face."
Yeah.
But it's easy to be loud and brash when you're an idiot. But when you actually are bringing the truth, you kind of...
It is. You don't even need an explanation for your...
Yeah.
You're just like, get out of my face.
Yeah.
Still trying to maintain that tough guy image.
Yeah. And possibly even hoping there is no God.
Yeah.
You might.
That's a good thought. It's like,
that.
Well, you don't have to throw sense out there. You just have to be loud and keep throwing stuff out. You know, get that away from me. You know, Norse gods go back 20,000 years. You can just say whatever, you know, I think we're so, I don't want to accidentally say something wrong, or I don't, that we're scared to say anything, because we're not just throwing stuff out there. We're trying to spit facts. The whole goal is to speak truth. But I just say, man, be bold and in our ministry and with ourselves, just getting away from the distractions and
here's the thing
greatness
too.
Of God.
The more you do it, the more prepared you are for the 17-round magazine argument. Mm-hmm. Like you get shot down with the first one, and you go, "That's actually not a shoot down. Here's the answer to that."
Right.
Yeah.
That's actually not true, and it's a misconception. Here's the truth. Mm-hmm. And then they try to shoot again and take another shot, and you go, "Okay, here, let's delve into that." Yep. And you're just ready. After enough times of talking to people, I would think you're going to be more ready.
I would like to clarify what we talked about before here. Is I was kind of teasing that Miles left off the third verse of "How great thou art," and I was like, we got to get into that too. However, a little research over here. When the original writer sold the rights to different people, the song has evolved into multiple verses. Like there's as many as 9 verses to the song.
Wow.
So
okay.
I think we'll just stick to Miles's rendition. I like the third verse
let's do the third verse.
Let's do the third verse.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So there is a third verse that's popular
and
in
three
America.
of us are doing solos.
Yeah.
On it, so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says, so when Christ shall come, I love this verse, with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart? Then I shall bow in humble adoration and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. And I just envision, whether through rapture or death, this is what I envisioned last night, whether through rapture or death, just my meeting God. The gratitude I have for so many things in my life. I read my Bible, I worship at church, I worship at home, I read my Bible and I pray. But to stand before God in person and say, my God, how great thou art, just gives me chills to just be able to look at God and just worship him in person. Golly, it just gives me chills to just think about it.
Right. Yep. Yeah. I can only imagine. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really does. Cause I can only imagine. It almost hurts to even imagine the idea when you think of your sinfulness and then standing in the presence of God. I mean, if he actually came down it would kill us, right? Because the sin can't exist in the same place. Moses, he would only allow to see his backside. And then he came down radiant, with this he just beaming, right? And so that, but anyway, we got to wrap it up. We're to the end.
I will say, I usually get pretty irritated with people that anticipate or try to predict or try to sense when Jesus is going to come back. My sweet wife likes to spend a lot of time researching all that. But as we were talking about that, I'm like, I know Angel's heart behind it, and she just so bad wants to see Jesus. I think some of that's the heart behind that anticipation and that prediction and trying, he could come back next year, because she just wants Jesus. She just wants to be with Jesus so bad.
That's all it boils down to.
Yeah. And it kind of changed my perspective on how I look at people doing that. I was like, man, some of it's just pure eagerness and just wanting to see Jesus.
Yes.
The hunger for that's powerful.
At that point, it's all over. No more of this nonsense.
Are we going to sing?
That's what I was about to do a second ago.
Sorry. I really am sorry.
Are you done?
Sorry.
You got anything else?
I don't, man.
Okay.
I just want to sing.
Come on, Jared. Give him one more thing.
No, I just want to sing.
You want to sing?
No, I don't know.
You can do the whole thing?
I know. I'm like, we're going to sing, y'all.
I can.
We're going to sing like Carrie Underwood.
There is a structured wrap up, so take it away, Hank.
Okay.
We're going to do this.
So we are going to sing, and we're going to do the 3 verses. And Gabe, you're going to jump in on the choruses?
I'm going to just sing all of it with y'all. Or what's happening?
No, we're doing solo pieces.
Jenny's going to sing the first verse.
Okay. Yep, I'm going to jump in on the chorus.
All right.
And the reason we normally close out with prayer, but we're closing out with the song because it is a prayer. It's a prayer of worship, so that's why.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Jenny, you want to take it away?
Okay. Oh Lord, my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the has made. I see the stars. I hear the rolling thunder. Thy power throughout the universe displayed. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
And when I think that God his Son not sparing sent him to die, I scarce can take it in that on the cross, my burden gladly bearing, he bled and died to take away my sin. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
When Christ shall come with shout of acclamation and take me home, what joy shall fill my heart. Then I shall bow in humble adoration and then proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel. Amen. Oh, Store Gud.
That's better. That's better.
How about that? Yeah.